Stanley Kubrick was known for leaving clues in his films. Many were left to our own interpretation. Some have yet to be discovered. Eyes Wide Shut is no different. You'll find ulterior motives, double meanings, and off-tangent lore. Don't be lost in the Christmas lights. We'll go through some of them here, with some ideas that are just too kooky and conspiratorial. That's why I say, the alternative theories mentioned within may cause anxiety, rage, and disbelief. But that's why you're here, I hope. Kindly consider leaving a like, share, or subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It's as easy as ordering cappuccino. Here are some clues overlooked, but maybe we shouldn't have.
It just wasn't part of the set design. It wasn't important.
Victor Ziegler lives in a palace. He throws the greatest soiree, invites the most affluent and beautiful people. The place is decked out in festive lights. He entertains his guests with a live band. You'll find an army of servants and bartenders offering adult beverages of your choice, and it's never more than an arm's length away. But you know what you won't find there? Food. Go ahead and look for yourself. There is no buffet table. No one is carrying a plate around. Not a single guest is caught biting one morsel of an appetizer, not even frozen pizza. It is not because Victor can't afford it. It's not something he overlooked. It's simply not important to the uber wealthy and aloof. But food is part of Eyes Wide Shut in certain circles. Domino makes an effort to brandish a dirty skillet in her kitchen. We see Bill visit a diner where Nightingale frequents for some, coffee. Even Alice takes a careful bite of a snack. Food only concerns the lower social and economic classes. People like Victor do not cook, buy groceries, or forced to select only what's on the menu. They're too powerful, too busy to consume the souls of others and partake satisfying other appetites.
The so-called punks are just out having a good time. Bill simply got in their way.
After Bill makes a house call at Marion's, where nothing happened, out in the street he gets bumped and taunted by 6 young men. Their insults are rather distasteful in nature and questions Bill's masculinity. This moment comes after Alice shared her fantasies about another man. Bill's self-confidence was already shaken, and his refusal of Marion's advances only made him question himself more. Then comes the happy-go-lucky group of 6. On the surface, Bill's experience tips him closer to the edge, where he's more vulnerable to new experiences. There is a deeper context, however. Bill actively makes the attempt to avoid getting in the way of the oncoming wall. What we witness is Bill's free will versus society's expectations that he cannot avoid, and he's not living up to them. Being a doctor, husband, and father isn't enough to escape juvenile, locker room type judgments from his accusers. This example of contrast carries over to Domino's introduction, who offers Bill safe harbor in her parlor.
It's a lot nicer in there than it is out here.
She acknowledges how rough the streets are in this universe and spins it in her favor. Yet, there is another theory, an alternative one. While every villain is an antagonist, not every antagonist is the villain of the story. No one is going to argue that these 6 young men are the villains of Eyes Wide Shut. However, they are antagonizing Bill. Eyes Wide Shut has other characters who may or may not be the villain, but certainly are making Bill's life difficult, whether that be Victor Ziegler or the Red Cloak. This little incident is a hint of a difficult world Bill's walking into without a clear, ever-present villain. Victor Ziegler is seen twice, in the beginning and in the end. The Red Cloak is seen once, in the middle. Who else is more ever-present, seen in the beginning, middle, and end? Who can be argued has antagonized Bill? That would be Alice. Alice gets under the influence. Instead of being open-minded, she goes all passive-aggressive and slices into Bill's ego with 1,000 cuts. Alice makes his home life shaky and Bill turns to work. But he is presented with temptation. As the moment nears for him to start playing dominoes, Alice, who had sent him out, calls and pulls him back, saving or denying Bill his moment. His moment to prove to Alice, himself, and the street punks how much of a man he is.
It's just a stroller. They're common in New York City. Look it up.
When Bill visits Domino's apartment the first time, we see a stroller tucked away in its corner just outside the door. It's outside her door. It's an interesting hint and left to interpretation and second guessing. Is it just a random prop? Not likely. This is Kubrick. Maybe it's abandoned. No, we see it later, used and returned to its corner, but more on that later. Perhaps it's a community stroller, like the bicycle. Well, the bike is locked to the radiator. While the stroller could be for anyone to use, the bike is not. One theory is the stroller isn't associated with any character in the film, but rather a symbol of pregnancy, considering what Bill is up to. There are actions, there are results. However, why would the stroller be unfolded the second time we see it? There are subconscious messages or coercion of messages that may lead us to believe the stroller is Domino's. The most obvious, it was she who showed Bill her apartment with the stroller in frame. The apartment is extremely cramped, an idea reinforced later. If you catch a glimpse, there is a stack of presents on the edge of the bathtub. They may be gifts for her to open or to hand out for somebody else. Later, when Domino's roommate Sally shows up, the gifts are gone and not under the tree, meaning they went elsewhere. Now we're back to the stroller. When we see it a second time, it too had gone elsewhere. Could Domino have been the mother and the gifts for her child? One other option, the stroller may belong to Sally. However, there is another clue. Both the stroller and the kitchen represent Domino and Sally. When Sally is out of the apartment, the kitchen is a mess. Domino tells us this.
Sorry about the mess. Made its day off.
The stroller outside is neat and tidy. All things have their place. Conversely, when Domino is out, the kitchen is neat, and it's the stroller that's unkempt. Domino may not be a mom. Her gifts could be for anyone, but that stroller was recently occupied, and the owner didn't mind too much to stand outside the apartment door.
Nick was a happily married man. End of story.
Bill searches for his friend. After all, Nick has a wife and 4 boys in Seattle to support. Bill steps inside a diner. We get an example of common folk eating where the uber-wealthy wouldn't be caught dead in. Bill is quite overdressed for the place. The kind young lady not only fesses up she sees Nick in the diner on occasion, but knows what hotel he stays at. She thinks enough of him not to give up his whereabouts. Is she showing some affinity for him or protecting herself? Bill tries to pry the answer out of her. Being a doctor isn't enough until he bluffs with results from certain tests Nick should know about. Test results maybe the waitress should know about. You might say, that's not enough evidence, implying a relationship, and Bill was just taking advantage of her sympathies, and it was just a mind trick. However, later, Bill sits down with Sally. She turns tables and uses the "you should know about the test" on him. Sally and her flat, shared with Domino, represents opposites. When Domino is inside, the apartment is a mess, but the stroller immediately outside is tidy. When Sally is there, the apartment is organized. It's the stroller outside that is not. We do know, when Sally brings up the tests, that may have happened, the tryst between Bill and Domino did not. When Bill brings up the test with the waitress, we know it did not happen. Would this mean a tryst between her and Nick did? Another theory, for the conspiratorial-minded, is there was no test. It was just a ploy by Sally to drive a wedge between Bill and Domino, later smoothed over a cup of coffee. but that's pretty deceptive and unlikely. Had the sequence swapped, Bill meeting Sally before he visits the diner, we would have had a minor character arc. Sally tells a story about a test result with a shared acquaintance. Bill later reuses this ploy on the waitress to get what he wants. It would have been an example of how his past experiences are influencing him and his future. Instead, this arc is subverted, as Sally may have played the part of poetic justice, turning this scheme on Bill. Bill leverages his doctor status to manipulate others, even if it's for a benevolent end. We see someone as humble as Sally can do the same.
Now this theory is crazy.
Greenwich Village. A strange, perverted man in a trench coat stalks Bill. He keeps his distance, but his eyes always follow. Bill is worried, and no cab will stop for him. Trying to act casual, Bill takes a paper from a random stand and ducks into Sharky's cafe. He orders a cappuccino at night, a faux pas in Europe, but this is America. He opens his paper and reads a headline about Mandy who died of a drug overdose. What's the alternative theory? The newspaper was a special edition just for Bill to read. We don't know how Ziegler makes his wealth. We know he and the Red Cloak are extremely influential with the rich and powerful of New York. Ziegler knows the biography of many. It would make sense if he's in the newspaper business. He admits of having people followed and justifies violence. How difficult would it be for him to pick up the phone, make a few editorial changes, have Bill trailed by a henchman, and coerce him to the nearest newspaper kiosk? If you're unconvinced, not ready to buy into the idea that the newspaper was a way for Ziegler to send a message to Bill, in an elaborate public way when Facebook did not yet exist, let's look at the front page. Lucky to be alive, in giant, bold print. This is Victor calling out to Bill that you, sir, are lucky to be alive. Ziegler's subtle threats would be repeated in the heart of his den. There is a sign. Bill was walking into a trap, into the heart of this conspiracy. He enters a place curiously named after a shark and walks underneath a lighting decoration that's part Christmas and part Halloween. It's simple, it's easy to miss. You might see a pair of red eyes staring back at you. It's even got one eye staring through the glass after Bill enters the cafe. This alone doesn't make it interesting. The next theory does.
You're definitely seeing things not there, even if it was.
At Victor's request, Bill is called back to Ziegler's mansion and playhouse. Escorted by Ziegler's attaché, we see in the hallway the exact same lighting decoration located in Sharky's cafe. This is both Christmas and Halloween, both festive and disturbing. Bill is reuniting with Victor, but Victor never left him. Victor was everywhere. The party that cannot be mentioned, the streets of New York, the newspapers. If reading that he's lucky to be alive wasn't enough, Bill will be told that, in person, in a very subtle hint. But what other hints that Bill is back where he started? That would be the bottles of liquor piled together on Victor's table. A common practice after hosting a party is gathering up all the unfinished booze because you certainly aren't going to throw them away. If anything, you'll freely pour glasses to anyone after the party just to get rid of it. This is exactly what Victor is doing. This is also a hint that Bill hasn't moved on since the start of the story. There is no character arc, no magical elixir, no trophy to bring back, making the lives of himself and his family better. Sharky's is not the first time we see this peculiar fixture. It is first seen at Victor's party early in the film, just obscured by glare and blurred. It's briefly seen in the background when Bill and Alice go dancing. In fact, there are two of them, which means Bill was on his way back to Victor's as early as Sharky's, a premonition long before the phone call.
The reason why nobody talks about it is because it doesn't mean anything.
Eyes Wide Shut is a film set during the Christmas season, obviously. There are lighted Christmas trees, wrapping of presents, and toy shops. Most of all, Goodwill.
Merry Christmas, Mary!
Everyone remembers how Kubrick used festive lights to illuminate his film. But strangely, when the film opens, there are no hints of the Christmas season. Not the establishing shot outdoors, not the diegetic music indoors, and not the decorations inside Bill and Alice's bedroom. The first symbol of religion is a 5-branch menorah. Is it a Kabbalah symbol? The painting above the menorah looks to be a tree. Could it be the tree of life? As Bill and Alice make it into the front room, we see many portraits representing their wealth or sophistication. As more decor is revealed, we see more trees and paintings. From right to left, we see more vegetation celebrated on canvas before a Christmas tree makes its 3-dimensional presentation. Later, Alice takes a tour through the apartment. The camera follows from our left to right. We see in the background more trees on canvas, another tree, not a Christmas one, and a 7-branched menorah. She joins Bill, and there is another giant painting celebrating yet another tree. Outside the many greeting cards, there are no traditional, quote, Christmas lights or decor. The cards may be agnostic. December is a month of many other holidays. But this is a second example of a menorah and the immediate vicinity, free of overt Christmas representation. The 7-branch menorah makes its final appearance when Bill returns late after his somber meeting with Victor. What does Bill do right before we see it? He turns off the Christmas lights. This is not random. Bill could have very well left the lights alone, or it could have been off in the first place. There was something important to this little gesture. Other than responsible lighting maintenance, he is powering down the influence of Christmas, at least for now, and reveals the menorah. Bill retreats to his bedroom, where we know another menorah is, in the corner, but no Christmas decorations. It is very well known that Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut was based on the 1926 novella Traumnovelle by Arthur Schnitzler. Schnitzler was Jewish. His books were not too popular with a certain World War II tyrant of the time. Many feel Schnitzler included an implied Jewish heritage with his protagonist. This is not recognized in Kubrick's, who too was born to a Jewish family, quite possibly because of all the Christmas-themed designs in the film. So why the menorahs? It could simply be a homage to Schnitzler. The story did originate in him. Or maybe there is a very subtle subtext, something about living a double life, showing two faces, one for yourself and one for the world. Maybe the Harford household practices Judaism. In their most private sanctums, they honor their faith. During the Christmas holidays, however, they mingle with the mainstream and march in tune with the pomp and circumstance. I don't think Eyes Wide Shut will ever be described as a Jewish family pretending to celebrate Christian holidays. Are there clues there? Maybe. The idea of wearing false masks is definitely a theme. Bill and Alice both have choices to live as themselves or live a life behind a mask, literal or not. This is Mr. G of Synergy saying, nothing says passive-aggressive better than giving a jigsaw puzzle for a present. Check out other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching.
Merry Christmas, Mary!